I don't want to shoot the messenger just because I don't like the crappy transfer news. After all, it might not be correct anyway. But I perceive it to be bad news. What am I going on about? Well, it's really that West Ham have got £50 million left to spend in this current transfer window, the summer window. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. I don't like it. Maybe because I don't like the news, I'm refusing to believe it. Who knows? Sean Weston yesterday provided a little breakdown on the players that we've sold, the money we should have to spend, and it makes sense. I can read it. I just don't, as I say, I just don't want to believe it, and it's going to be absolutely impossible for us to do the things that we really want to do in this transfer window if that's the case. Now, I've said it numerous times now, I do get that it might just be a negotiating tactic in terms of don't let any buyers know how much money you've got to spend. Makes absolute sense, as I've said on numerous occasions, whether you're buying a footballer or you're trying to buy something from eBay, it makes no sense. You want to negotiate from a position of some sort of stealth with regard to how much money you have to spend. Totally get that. However, when it starts being printed out in figures and starts being stated as facts, then you do start to worry. And I found myself having a little scroll back through a lot of the previous years' transfer outgoings as much as anything. Obviously, I know you've got to balance it up with the players coming in, but the players coming in are well established. They're well known by all of us, aren't they? So, I mean, let's be fair here. It's really the players going out and the wages that they were on. And the reason I did that is I have felt that to an extent we have been on a cost-cutting exercise since we flogged Lanzini. Now, if you remember, Lanzini was on a lot of money. He's never going to be like the poster boy for the amount of money that we're spending on the player. That's always going to be somebody else. It was Danny Ings was the most recent one. Do you remember Chicharito, 145 grand a week? There's always a bigger poster boy, but Manuel Lanzini was on over £80,000 a week. So when he left, it was a big, big saving. Then you start looking at some of the other savings the club have made, and you do start to come to the conclusion that actually West Ham have been really cranking down their wage bill over the last few years. Now, there's this profit and do you know what? I don't know if you watch TalkSport, but Alan Brazil can't say profit and sustainability. He says, profit and sustainability. He can't say it, and I completely muck that up as well. Let's call it financial fair play so as we don't trip up on ourselves anymore. With that coming in, you've got to have your spending within the parameters of 85% of your turnover. I think West Ham are well within that at all. Let me just read you what Sean has said. He's basically said, outbound sales of Kehrer to Monaco, 9.3. Trott to Copenhagen, he's left, in case you didn't know, 1.7. They've raised 11 million of transfer funds for this summer. This will be added to £60 million budget, of which 19.5 million has been spent on Luis Guilherme, leaving around 51.5 transfer budget remaining. I mean, the obvious question here, what the hell happened to the Declan Rice money? Because we didn't spend all of that last season. I'm sure of it. 105 million. A big fuss was made that we weren't going to take this over 5 years. It was going to be paid. It was either over 18 months or 24 months, which is really good for the balance sheet. We had money for Gianluca Scamacca, which came in. Granted, we owed money for that. I think we bought him for something like 32, 33. We sold him for 25. But we'd already paid a lot of that money up front. Obviously, we'd lost money on Nikola Vlasic. And we got a couple of million on Alpha Masuaku. But there was no way that we had spent well in excess of like 130 odd million. And in fact, right at the end of last summer's transfer window, we were chasing a striker right up until the last day of the window. It was from Brazil. Escape. I think it was from a Flamengo striker. So there was clearly money in the bank. We obviously didn't spend this money in the January transfer window, but again, we were chasing players, right? We tried to sign that Ibrahim Osman. Was that 15 odd million or something like that? I may be wrong on that. You remember the transfer mucked up we were negotiating with the wrong agent. I know we spent a hefty amount of money loaning Calvin Phillips. I think my point is we were chasing players. So I just can't see how this can be so that there is only 51 million remaining. Now, you factor in, forget the valuation of Max Kilman. I think it's quite clear that West Ham want Max Kilman. Forget the valuation. We bid 25 million on the first bid. Apparently we bid closer to 30 million pound on the second bid. I'm assuming that's been rejected. But let's say it's not. Let's say 30 odd million pound gets accepted. Which I think it will probably take more than that. But I don't think Kilman will cost 45 million, by the way. That's basically leaving like 20 million pound to get a striker in. Okay. Well, it's not enough. You know it's not enough. We all know it's not enough. And that's just for the basic surgery on the squad when so much more needs to be done. So then you're banking on a situation whereby you're going to need to sell players. And I think I've seen a lot of people factoring in the sale in terms of selling Knife Gerd and selling Kurt Zouma. I've spoken about Kurt Zouma on numerous occasions, but Knife Gerd is a different kettle of fish altogether. And I think there's far too many assumptions with this player. By the way, can I please point you in the direction of our Patreon page? We've got a really, really good offer there for an Aaron Cresswell match-worn signed shirt. Really, really nice bit of kit. It's basically, it's open to all existing patrons. But I'll tell you this now, if you're not an existing patron, basically, would you pay £3.50 to be entered into, we can't legally call it a raffle, but to be entered into a competition, let's say, to win an Aaron Cresswell shirt? If the answer is, yeah, do you know what, I'd buy a ticket for that, then why don't you get yourself over, include yourself in the raffle, or not raffle, should we say it, by joining Patreon. There are 3 separate tiers, and Patreon is not just a reason to go and win an Aaron Cresswell signed shirt. Patreon, Hammers Chat Patreon, is our 3rd Hammers Chat channel. We got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Anton Ferdinand podcast. We have got numerous podcasts, opposition previews. We're still doing our breakfast show, even though there's no season at the moment. We have our player ratings. We've got a ton of content. After this video, I'm just about to go over there and record a video about Lewis Orford now as well. But we've got some really exciting things coming up for the new season. Basically, on Patreon, we've got some new signings coming up. Now, I can't break it to you guys before, obviously, we break it to our patrons, but we think as a 3rd additional Hammers Chat channel, it represents excellent value. We do tons of giveaways, tons of competitions. You get big discounts in our online store. The link is in the description below. It's patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Go over there, get yourself signed up now. It's a great way of supporting Hammers Chat and allowing us to survive the fallow periods, which is what it is now without any West Ham football, which is what we're talking about. Things like how much transfer budget we've got left. But in all honesty, it has annoyed me, the transfer budget thing. Links in the description below. We'd really appreciate your support. And while you're there, get yourself entered for the not raffle for the Aaron Cresswell signed shirt. Okay, Knife Gerd. I've seen so many reports and so many people factoring in that we're going to get 25 to 30 million pound for this player. And a lot of it seems to be predicated upon a Saudi club coming in. Now, that may or may not happen. But I'm seeing this quite a lot. This assumption, not just from West Ham, from a lot of clubs, that their financial fair play worries are going to be rescued by Saudi money coming in. Is it just me? Tell me if I'm wrong, but most of the Saudi links to players end up not happening. I'm not saying they don't buy anyone, clearly. They bought Neves, didn't they, from Wolves? Ronaldo is the obvious one for big money. There have been other transfers as well. There have been a number of big transfers where you think that quite possibly, you know, for Chelsea players or whatever, that they may have gone in there and claimed to have overpaid for players. But a lot of them don't happen. I just think there's a big assumption at the moment. One of them is on Kurt Zouma, which, as I say, I'm not even sure he'd pass a medical. Another one is on Knife Gerd. I think Knife Gerd wants to leave. He changed his agent. And it's suggested he wants to leave. But I think the really weird thing with Gerd is I do think he would possibly suit Lopetegui's brand of football. Now, this is obviously me saying that before I've seen Lopetegui manage a single game for West Ham United. But I certainly don't think we can start budgeting and factor it in to our transfer kitty money we might get for Knife Gerd. It might be 25, 30 million. It might not. he cost 30 million. He's had a major injury since then, and he's had really, really patchy form. And then he's had a series of smaller injuries that have actually kept him out for a number of games. Excuse me. I'm just not sure we're getting the money that we think we're going to get for this player. I really don't. And there's other factors are coming in. Maxwell Cornet, we don't know what's going to happen with Maxwell Cornet. Maxwell Cornet may well be useful at West Ham next season, but even if he's not, we paid £17 million for him, won't get anything close to it. £6 million for Danny Ings, I'm not so sure. You start looking at these, it's 10 million here, it's 6 million here if you're lucky. I don't really see there being this big chunk of money that's going to facilitate us buying a load of additional players. You would hope that any deal for Flynn Downs would be more than we paid for him. We paid £12 million for him. The report that you read is £12 million. I don't think West Ham would accept £12 million. And I think Southampton, having been promoted, can possibly afford to pay more. But we've also seen how regulated those promoted clubs are in terms of spending money. Now, obviously, Southampton have not been down for that long. They still had their parachute payments, so they're not in the sort of precarious financial position that a lot of Championship clubs had been in. But I'm not sure they're going to walk in and pay £25 million for James Ward-Prowse. That might be something for Flynn Downs, not so sure. But it doesn't make sense. The whole thing doesn't add up. And I was sort of looking at some of the other exits as well, and you think, well, hold on, we've got good money for Issa Diop. He was on big wages. Dawson, by the time he left, was on big wages. I'm going back a couple of years here. Yarmolenko was on massive wages, over 100 grand a week. Ryan Fredericks was on 50 grand a week. Vlasic was on big money. There's a lot of these players who went out, and I'm not sure they were ever fully replaced in terms of big money. Look, Danny Ings is a big one. Danny Ings is a big one to get off the wage bill. We need to get him off the wage bill. This is really, really important. But if all West Ham have got is 50 million and we're banking on players being sold, somebody told me a long, long time ago, buying players is easy, it's selling them that's a difficult one, because the players you want to sell, it just ends up that other teams don't want to buy. It may well be that we have to. Nifogert doesn't get his transfer. He has to play. We don't get our centre-back. Nifogert has to play. He has to make him work. I think Danny Ings probably will go. But you're not getting any money. But the difficult thing is selling players. Because the players you want to keep, that's who everyone else wants to buy. You get the deal. £50 million, it ain't enough.